Right, one of my favourites. It's a tangy fruit salad, and it's for breakfast, would you believe? Start off with a chilli. Now, give it a little rub. So, you can hear those seeds being released. Get your knife and come all the way down. Turn it over and just slice it into 4. And then finally chop that chilli. I want this salad slightly hot, so I'm going to use all the chilli, but half the seeds.
The seeds are where the heat is, so the less you use, the milder your dish.
Nicely chopped. Next, one of my favourite pastes, tamarind paste. This is quite tart, quite sour, but it's a wonderful complement to the sweetness of the fruit, and it goes brilliantly well with the chilli. Palm sugar. And this is where it sweetens up the dressing, because it enriches it.
Then the zest and the juice of a lime.
Cut it into quarters, and then twist the lime so you maximise on all that juice out. Now, to finish that dressing off, some toasted peanuts. Get the pan nice and hot. A little touch of salt. That'll help dry roast the peanuts even quicker. Make sure you get a really nice dark colour on those peanuts, because it will really transform that dressing.
To crush your roasted nuts the mess-free way, simply wrap them in a clean cloth and use a rolling pin or a pan to bash them.
Crush. That's the hard bit done.
Now for the fruit, and here's an easy way to prep a pineapple.
Pineapple. Take off the top. Take off the bottom. And stand it up. Use the corner of your knife and follow down. Basically like shaving the pineapple. Don't worry about these little spikes there. The secret behind doing it this way is not losing half the pineapple.
There's nothing wrong with a few brown bits. It's all good fibre.
Slice the pineapple in half, and then slice down each quarter. Slice across and chop. Delicious pineapple chunks.
Next, apples and pears, diced. Then to give a lovely fresh light note, de-seeded cucumber.
I don't want the seeds in the fruit salad. The cucumber seeds will make it very watery and dilute the strength of that wonderful chilli in there. Cucumber in for some sweetness. Delicious mango. Just slice it nicely. Get your dressing and just drizzle that over the fruit salad in. The secret of a good fruit salad is not drowning it in the dressing, but really make sure that you've got that nice coating on all the fruits. Don't worry about just having it for breakfast, because this is the kind of tangy fruit salad you can have for lunch, a healthy snack in the afternoon, but it transforms a traditional fruit salad into something really delicious.
Spicy fruit salad with a kick of chilli. Trust me, it's an incredible breakfast and a guaranteed pick-me-up in the morning.
There's something very Scottish about porridge. It's that kind of sort of great start to the day. My father used to say, porridge needs salt and salt only. It separates the men from the boys. Didn't really like it. He always insisted salt puts hairs on you. I used to sneak a couple of sugar lumps from cafes and put them in my porridge without him watching.
These days, my porridge has much more flavour than just salt. It's packed with fruit, nuts and spices. Add vanilla seeds to your porridge oats or oatmeal.
Really important just to rub the vanilla through the oatmeal. Makes it nice and fragrant. Now, a little teaspoon of cinnamon makes it spicier, and then nutmeg. Already, that smells incredible. I quite like making this up a week at a time, and Jack absolutely loves it. Now, whole almonds. Now, if you don't like that kind of crunch running through the porridge, you can chop these up or blend them to a powder, but I quite like the sort of texture. Hazelnuts, incredibly good, and a really nice crunch. Keep your vanilla pod in there as well. That just gives it even more lift, and of course, once it's baked, just pull it out.
Instead of sugar, I'm adding sweetness with fruit, fresh pears and raisins.
Cranberries are great as well. Chopped apricots as well, dried apricots in there. Dried mango. I love dried fruit.
Next, pour in a pint of milk and mix.
This can be done the night before, left in the fridge, and then, a couple of minutes before you go to bake it, add your cream. Now, into your dish. It looks quite liquid, but by the time it bakes, it has this really nice, rich crust on top. And then, just a nice little nutmeg on top.
Now, bake at 180 for 30 to 35 minutes. Then take the porridge out, sprinkle on demerara sugar and grill to create a sweet golden crust.
And sort of glaze on top. Beautiful. Literally for 3 to 4 minutes. Look at that. That makes me feel proud to be Scottish because it's perfect for a big comfort family breakfast. It's rich, it's sumptuous, and it's just a humble oatmeal. Phenomenal, especially in the winter.
My spice-baked porridge with all those nuts and fruit is a bowl full of love to start the day.
Delicious poached pears.
I love pears.
Ready? So we're going to poach them with a little bit of chilli.
Chili? Never heard of that
A little bit of
before.
saffron. No?
No.
Now, pan on. Take off a little slice like that, so they stand up nicely, and then peel.
OK, then.
And then the chilli, you hold that up and just go down,
Yep.
through, and open that up, OK? Into the water. Seeds in as well.
Seeds in as well.
Oh, hello, Holes.
Hi, Holly.
What is that smell? It smells so good.
We've got the most amazing ox down there. Hello, mate. Are you well?
Yeah, good thing.
Hello, mate.
How was your day? So what were you making there?
So we're going to poach these pears, a little bit of chilli, water, and sugar. What are they, Holes? Smell?
It's saffron.
It's exactly that.
Saffron is expensive, but you only need the tiniest little bit.
A little pinch to make that water go light and golden. Star anise.
Like, how comes the chilies, you've like sliced it at the end and it's not put in whole?
I want all that flavour coming out of the chilli. We're going to make the most amazing star anise dust.
Star anise dust.
Dust.
Wow.
So you get your star anise in there, seed up, and then in. See all those little seeds?
Yeah.
And then you start grinding. A little teaspoon of ginger. Give it a nice mix. Thank you, mate. And that's going to dust the top of the pears once they're cooked. Right, get your pears. Drop them in there. And that's what we're going to sprinkle. Ginger and star anise.
Wow.
How nice is that?
Very good.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
So once they're cooked, cool down, sprinkle that over the top. Right, have you guys got homework?
Yes. See you guys
Come back
later.
shortly. Thank you.
Love you, Dad. Love you, Dad.
Love you too. Turn that down and let them boil. Okay?
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
After an 8-minute simmer, our pears should be ready.
Now, just get your knife, Mum. Put the knife through and see how easy the knife is?
Beautiful.
So that means they're soft and cooked. Now, you can leave them in there overnight, 2 or 3 days.
All right.
And they just get darker and more beautiful. The good thing about the cooking liquor is that you don't throw that away because you can use that again for repoaching. Beautiful. I mean, they look impressive,
They smell delicious, don't they?
don't they? Chili.
Look at the colours now. It's lovely, isn't it?
Colours are amazing, man. And just,
God, it smells delicious.
doesn't it? And then take your little star anise dust and just dust over.
Oh, look at that. That's lovely.
Now, you think of the flavour and the texture of avocado. Rich, phenomenal. Want to make it a little bit more vibrant. Black sesame seeds, a nice pinch of chili flakes. I quite like it. Hot. A touch of salt and a touch of pepper. So that nice dry combination of the lemon zest, black sesame seeds, and the heat from the chili. This is light, healthy, quick, but so tasty. Sourdough bread. 3 nice, chunky, thick slices. Open them up. Lightly season them. A little touch of olive oil. Brings the whole crust to life. Rub all that seasoning in. But you can use ciabatta. You can use a baguette, but the richness from the sourdough with the silky creaminess of the avocado is mind-blowing. And then get the grill up to temperature and push these down. Go the extra mile. We've all put bread in a toaster, but the difference of grilling the bread this way is extraordinary. That nice smoky charcoal flavour. Off with the gas. Beautiful. Now, the avocado. You've got to treat them with love, respect. Press on the end here, and if your thumb softens, you can tell that avocado's ripe. Never press here, and you just end up bruising it. Slice down so you feel that stone in the middle, and then just roll around. And then it's just a little gentle twist. Off, stone, and out. Cut them into quarters. The back of your knife, peel back that skin. If the avocado is nice and ripe, it should just all fall away. Slice. Just take your quarters, fan them out, and push them into the bread.
The riper the avocado, the better the flavour. But look for ones free from soft spots and blemishes which can suggest bruising.
Get your lemon, squeeze. That will stop the avocado from discolouring. And then get your crunch ready to go on top. Sprinkle in a very generous, light way. You've got the fragrance from the lemon zest, the crunch from the sesame seed, and the heat, that little chili flake, which just wakes up that avocado. They look expensive. That, for me, is a delicious, light start to the day.
Avocado on sourdough toast with lemon and black sesame sprinkle.
They get, about as big or as much meat on them as a red bell pepper, but they have more flavor, and for me, they've been a lot more productive as well. So Carmen peppers are the main sweet pepper that I grow. I also like gypsy peppers, I like sweet Italian peppers, and a few others. But if you're new to growing peppers, try some different varieties other than bell pepper. I think you're gonna really like them. Okay, here we are in the spicy pepper section of the garden.
So, you can hear those seeds being released. Get your knife and come all the way down. Turn it over and just slice it into four. And then finally chop that chili. I want this salad slightly hot, so I'm gonna use all the chili, but half the seeds.
The seeds are where the heat is, so the less you use, the milder your dish.
So I'm gonna use all the chili, but half the seeds. So I'm gonna use all the chili, but half the seeds. So I'm gonna use all the chili, but half the seeds.
Deseeded cucumber.
I don't want the seeds in the fruit salad. The cucumber seeds will make it very watery and dilute the strength of that wonderful chili in there. I don't want the seeds in the fruit salad. I don't want the seeds in the fruit salad. I don't want the seeds in the fruit salad. Off, stone, and...
The Napa County Seed Library is a free public resource for seed saving and sharing. We believe that seed saving cultivates respect for the land and the people who grow from it. It gives us a connection to each other, produces healthy food, and brings well-being to all of us in the community. Seed saving is valuable because it is a free, sustainable, and renewable resource. So seed saving is very important. It's akin to our survival as well as the survival of the planet. When we save seeds, we thrive, we connect with each other, we heal the planet. It's a wonderful thing. I'm going to keep doing it for a long time.
With just this one envelope full of seeds, you can start a thriving garden full of vegetables, herbs, greens, and flowers.
Have a lot of uses, especially in areas where there's high theft, or if you want to consolidate your mail all into one centralized safe location, So if you want all your mail delivered to one centralized location, a post office box might be a good solution for you. Post office boxes are not only in the United States, but in many countries, especially in the developing world, as in some regions of the world it is safer to go to the post office to retrieve your mail or valuables than it is to have them delivered to your own address. And in some cases, in rural parts of the world, it might not even be possible to receive mail to your own address. So post office boxes play an important role in the reception of mail, not just in the United States, but abroad.
Now, to finish that dressing off, some toasted peanuts. Get the pan nice and hot.
But I don't think you can notice this. We have even been able to collect some gas.
Sourdough bread. 3 nice, chunky, thick slices. Open them up.
Have you guys ever heard of breadfruit? It's called breadfruit for a reason, because they can feed a lot of people. If one tree is distributed to each family, they would not have to buy carbohydrates for the next 75 years. So we started this company called Jungle Project that is commercializing breadfruit through making flour and chips and other products.
A little touch of olive oil brings the whole crust to life. Rub all that seasoning in.
Just a little seating area underneath the olive trees.
Now, the avocado. You've got to treat them with love, respect. Press on the end here, and if your thumb softens, you can tell that avocado is ripe. Never press here, and you just end up bruising it. Slice down till you feel that stone in the middle, and then just roll around. And then it's just a little gentle twist. Off, stone, and out. Cut them into quarters. The back of your knife, peel back that skin. If the avocado is nice and ripe, it should just all fall away. Slice. Just take your quarters, fan them out, and push them into the bread.
The riper the avocado, the better the flavour. But look for ones free from soft spots and blemishes which can suggest bruising.
This massive tree is an avocado tree, and it actually produces fruit. Not that often, but when it does, there's a lot of guacamole.
Oh, this is very exciting. My first avocados popping off. Might be a little backlit for you to see there, but...
Get your lemon, squeeze. That will stop the avocado from discolouring.
Then the zest and the juice of a lime.
Cut it into quarters, and then twist the lime so you maximise on all that juice out.
This is a grapefruit tree, then we've got a lemon tree and a lime tree and a kumquat and tangerine tree.
Now for the fruit, and here's an easy way to prep a pineapple.
Pineapple. Take off the top. Take off the bottom. And stand it up. Use the corner of your knife and follow down. Basically like shaving the pineapple.
Pineapples are a joy to grow in your garden. Once you see how easy it is to grow pineapples at home, you will never look back. Let's look at growing pineapples. Now you can easily start your pineapple plant by buying a pineapple first. Now you can be specific and buy an organic pineapple. That way you'll get no pesticide residue with it. But in either case, you can just buy any pineapple that you get in your market. And then what we're going to do is just remove the head just like that, the top part of the pineapple. Now all you do is take a glass of water. You can take any container. I just find that this glass that you see here, this fits in very well with the shape of the pineapple. So it kind of holds it in place. And when you see that the roots are significant enough, long enough, you can transplant them into a container. Now I would recommend at least this sized container that you see here for growing pineapple. This is about 22 inches in diameter.
So here in this garden, we have to really keep our eyes out for detail. This is a pot that's sitting on 2 sets of palms. It's just little exquisite details like this that sets the garden apart.
Now, in my case, I was able to see that the fruit was turning yellow, and when I tried to smell the fruit, it smelled a little fruity. So it was about time to harvest the pineapple. So use a nice big pruner to cut your pineapple from the tree. It's a pretty thick stalk, by the way. And as you can see here, beautiful looking pineapple, almost yellow all around, and it smelled very fruity, very much ready for harvest. And this is really the moment of truth when you harvest your pineapple. It's a really good feeling to harvest your own fruits in your backyard. And as you can see here, we are trying to cut open the pineapple now. It's a pretty decently sized fruit. Again, not huge as you would get in the grocery store, but I'm hoping that the subsequent pineapples from my plant will be larger. You can see here, beautiful looking fruit. And this is how I know to cut a pineapple. If you have a better way to cut a pineapple, do let me know in the comments below. As you can see here, beautiful looking fruit. We're gonna cut the thorny parts, the sides of the pineapple fruit. And this is how it looks like. Again, you can see juicy and beautiful. You can see the juices dripping down.
Hey, how is it going, you guys? So I'm gonna show you the method that normally I use to multiply the pineapple, and it's very simple, and most of the people using this one, it's basically using up the crown. So the way I do it, I just twist it. So what you do is cut your pineapple in the middle as much as possible. And then just a couple of these, because they were already started to rot, I take out. But you don't have to take it out if all well at all. So you can just keep it on, and you can cut one more time here in the middle. And one more time here in the middle. So now you have potential 4+ plants will grow from one crown, and I can tell you, I can show you the proof exactly that it works. Now I have 1, 2, this was the old one, and it's coming out from there, 3 and 4. And you can see it's coming out from the old one. And I can even show you, just so you would see what I'm talking about. Get this one, for example. So you can see what happened. The one that I cut nicely rooted, and now the new one is rooted as well. So I wasn't sure. I was like 50-50. I'm like, is this for real? Is it gonna work? But I can assure you it works. It works very well.
This plant was started about 6 months ago. I'm going to show you how to water it once again. You fill it by pouring water down the center, and water will stay in between the leaves. In about 2 years, the plant will flower and produce a pineapple. After that, it will start producing pups at the side of the plant, and these will be miniature versions of this. And then you just grab the pups, tear them the same way you did the leaves, and replant it the way we just did. And those will produce pineapples much faster, in about a year.
Okay, we finna get this pineapple before it go bad. Ow, shoot, it stuck me. Trying not to get, got it. I hope it ain't bad. I hope it don't go bad. I hope it ain't going bad. Something, hold on. Oh, I could smell it. Oh my God, it smells so good. I wish I had smell-o-vision. There go the top. We're gonna put the top back in the ground. It's raining out there. Y'all can't see that. But it's raining. This is another top I had that I'm gonna put out there that need to go. But y'all, it's really sweet. Y'all can't taste it or even smell it. Hold on, it ain't focusing there. And then I just cut them up. I ain't even cut the core out. I ain't even cut the core out. Is it gonna focus? There it go. One of these. And this is the pineapple plant that I had picked my pineapples off, that one pineapple off earlier that I just showed you guys. And this plant has been growing for 2 years. That was the first pineapple that it gave me, and that pineapple came from about right here, but as you can see, it has already basically filled in the spot with another pineapple that's coming in. There's some little pineapple shoots that's around it. It looks like it's about 3 pineapples on it, like one cluster. It's another cluster right here, and then it's a cluster right there. It might be, and then it looks like it's another little cluster back there. So maybe 4 pineapples that's on this plant, and then 2 little babies.
And stand it up. Use the corner of your knife and follow down. Basically like shaving the pineapple.
Greetings, YouTube. Elaine Unleashed back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, right here in the Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. And in this morning's video, YouTube, I'm super excited to be bringing you guys along with me as I show you guys how to force flower a pineapple plant for early fruiting. Golden apple here, YouTube, on this saucer, and we have a knife here. What we're simply going to do is take this apple, cut it into 4 or 5 or 6, pretty much equal size pieces. And I'll show you guys what that looks like in just a second here. Hang tight. All right, YouTube, we're back. And as you guys can see, we have our seeds separated from our golden apple. We're going to save those seeds and plant those seeds in some seed germination trays in our greenhouse, YouTube. And we'll show you guys the results of that. They actually do germinate for us here, YouTube. But as you can see, guys, we have our apple sliced into pretty much equally sliced pieces here, YouTube.
Look at the fruit trees, they're just totally loaded. These are the ground falls that we picked up so far, and they may look a little dubious, but actually these are great for apple pies, apple sauce. You can dry these too if you wanted to. So we get a huge bounty of fruits here.
What we're simply going to do is take these slices of apple and place them amongst the leaves, the upper leaves here in our pineapple plant, YouTube. A lot of you guys are wondering why in the world would we be putting apple slices among the leaves and in the center of our pineapple plant here. And what does an apple have to do with flowering a pineapple plant? As you guys, most of you guys know or should know, most fruit, as it begins to decay, it produces a gas called ether. So as these apple slices begin to break down, they will indeed produce ether. That ether is what's going to stimulate our pineapple plant to produce a pineapple flower. Plastic bag, open it up, and place it down over these top few leaves here on our pineapple plant. And what that'll do, YouTube, is actually trap that ether gas down around the top, the center, where our flower will develop at and grow from, that center down in there. It'll trap that ether gas down around that center and stimulate our pineapple plant to actually produce a flower. 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks when we actually remove these apple slices from this plant and place this plant back in its original position in our greenhouse. Bam! 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 All 3 of the pineapple plants that we showed you guys in our house in the greenhouse around this time last year that we attempted to force flower using apple slices to create ethylene gas beneath a plastic tent did indeed flower for us. They're roughly around a year old at this time, maybe 14 months maybe old at this time. But indeed, all 3 of the pineapple plants that we attempted to force flower using apple slices to create ethylene gas beneath a plastic tent did indeed produce flowers for us here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, and are indeed well on their way to becoming pineapples for us here.
And stand it up. Use the corner of your knife and follow down. Basically like shaving the pineapple. Take off a little slice like that, so they stand up nicely, and then peel.
Okay then.
And then
Nagul makes your life so much easier. You can compost your food waste and even biodegradable plastics. Yes, Nagul even works on compostable materials. All at the push of a button, and as little as a few hours later, your waste has turned into nutrient-rich compost, totally mess-free and odor-neutralized.
My father used to say, porridge needs salt and salt only. It separates the men from the boys. Didn't really like it. He always insisted, salt puts hairs on you. I used to sneak a couple of sugar lumps from cafes and put them in my porridge without him watching.
These days, my porridge has much more flavour than just salt. It's packed with fruit, nuts and spices. Add vanilla seeds to your porridge oats or oatmeal.
So the vanilla flour, slice out from the side here, open it up, and then this piece right here you kind of have to, with this tool, push under like that, and then fold the other piece over like that. It's kind of difficult to do at this angle, but there we go.
Next, apples and pears, diced. Next, apples and pears, diced. Next, apples and pears, diced.
Trees here, look at the fruit trees, they're just totally loaded. These are the ground falls that we picked up so far, and they may look a little dubious, but actually these are great for apple pies, apple sauce. You can dry these too if you wanted to. So we get a huge bounty of fruits here.
Welcome everybody and welcome to Host at Heart, and today we're going to be canning some green beans and potatoes. So stay tuned and with my grandma.
So we're getting ready to can some green beans and potatoes, and I am going to season them with just some plain old salt, Cajun seasoning, and a little bit of basil, okay? So we're gonna get this going because this is so easy to do, y'all. I got my jars in the oven. They have been heating up in that oven, 230 degrees, I believe I got it set at. And they've been heating up. I got my boiling water on the stove because I will have to fill these jars with hot... Mama, you finished? Awesome. Okay, thank you. Just let it sit right there. That's the other grandbaby. But anyway, you all, I'm going to have to fill that with some hot water. Now, for my potatoes that I'm using, I am not using a russet potato. I'm actually using Yukon Gold potatoes, okay? So, because I'm using Yukon Gold, I am not boiling these potatoes first. If you're using what they call iced potatoes or russet potatoes, if that's what you choose to use, you will need to boil them first, okay? Not for a long time. You're going to have to get into your ball guide to canning book or canning and preserving or something like that. Get into that book and it will tell you how to prepare those potatoes, okay? But because mine are a Yukon Gold, they are very tender potato. If I boil them first, y'all, they will turn into mush in that jar. So, ew. I know, and we don't want mushy green beans and potatoes.
It's gonna taste nasty.
Yeah, I don't think you'll like that, Bert. You think you'll like it?
No.
I don't think so either. So, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead. We got all our green beans snapped already. We got our potatoes peeled already. For green beans and potatoes, I am peeling them first. They've already been peeled, okay, and washed. So the only thing that's left to do is to cube them up, get them in the jars, and add our spices and the water. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead. See, I'm behind already. I'm adding a teaspoon of salt to the jars, okay? I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground basil, and I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning. Now this is the flavor that we like. So if you want to do something different, you can. If you don't want to use ground basil, but you want to use, you know, just dried basil, you can do that too, okay? Pour the water over to that 1-inch headspace. Ooh, this is hot.
I know, right?
Yes, even the handle is hot. Oh my goodness gracious me. Let's add this hot water, y'all. Boiling water.
Make sure you always get some boiling water on here.
That's right. This is Big Bertha, and she's holding 14 quarts, okay? Yeah, I got 7 on the bottom. I have a divider rack on the top of that 7, and these quarts are sitting on top of that rack.
Make sure the water.
Yeah, the water for my canner. For my canner is 3 inches of water in this canner, okay? No more than 3 inches. That water level is gonna rise as you put jars in it. So my canner has 3 inches of water in it. So now I'm gonna get my lid on. As you can see, the lid is kind of deep up here, so it won't touch the, where's my arrow? There it is. It won't touch the jars, okay? So now I'm gonna lock this into place. Now, make sure this is sitting on the fire correctly. I'm going to go ahead and crank this fire up to high too while I'm at it, okay? I'm going to grab this, step back. I'm going to grab this at opposite ends, and I'm going to twist them. If you were only processing green beans, you would process a quart of green beans for 25 minutes, okay? But because we got the potatoes in, we got to process these potatoes for 40 minutes, okay? And open my lid. See how easy that slide off because of the fact of the petroleum jelly that we put on the lid? That slid off very, very easy, okay? And the jars are warm, but they're not hot, okay? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And because these are those Yukon Gold potatoes, they cook so easy. They don't take a lot to cook, you know, especially when you cut them like this. It don't take much for them to cook, right? So that's why I don't boil them, because they'll be mushy if I did. So I let the 40 minutes of processing time in this canner, it cooks them well. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these out of the canner. Y'all, the house smells so good this morning. Green beans and potatoes. The house smells so good. Take out this rack and set it to the side. There we have it.
I'm Becky from the Seasonal Homestead. If you're new here, welcome. I thought I would tell a little bit about myself before I hop right into the pantry tour, because I feel like that explains why our family does what we do and why we put up so much food. Several years ago, I had a lot of health problems and I got medical help, but that help didn't actually help me get better. So I turned to my food as a source of healing, and over the course of a year, I was able to slowly get better. So what I did that year was I expanded our garden. I grew as much food as I could myself. And the other thing that I did is I cooked as many foods as I could from scratch. I got so addicted to gardening and putting up my own food and all those things because it made me feel so good. So the next year after that, I set a goal to grow 100% of the vegetables that our family of 6 eat from our backyard garden. And our garden at the time was 5,000 square feet. And so I learned a lot that first year. We made it 9 months without going to the store for vegetables. So here at the top, these are pumpkins and they are Long Island cheese is the variety. Up next over here, I have some black beans. And then after that, I have barbecue sauce. I think these 3 rows are all barbecue sauce. And then ketchup. Got a couple rows of those. And then right here I have a variety of jams. I have grape, I think I have strawberry, a few strawberries in the back. This is blackberry, and then this one is peach. Black beans, I couldn't fit all of them up here, so I put more down here. Then these are all apple butter. These are cranberry sauce, and these are a little bit darker because I made those with coconut sugar. And I won't do that again because it doesn't taste as good. These are more cranberry sauce, but this one's done with honey and maple syrup and they taste much better. Then I have pickled banana peppers, and this is some relish, and then some dill pickles from this year. Here we have salsa, 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 all the way down to here. We eat a lot of salsa. And for my canned stuff, we're eating from this year round. So I've made a lot more than this and we've already gone through a lot of it. But then we have pizza sauce is next, all the way over to here. So down here I have applesauce, and these are all peaches canned in a really light syrup. Down here at the bottom, I have sweet potatoes. I have 2 crates full, and down here I have even more. Over here I have regular white potatoes. I actually grew a variety of types, but I'm gonna pull this out here. Up next we have winter squash. This is butternut squash. And then over here I have some onions, and these are both storage types. That's why they are lasting for a long time. Over here I have garlic. This is a hard neck, which is why it's tied together and not braided. This one is called Music. And I'll show this one down here while I'm on the garlic. This is a soft neck. These you can braid, and I don't remember what type they are, but that's okay. Okay, up next I have tomato sauce. And we don't use too much of this because we already have a lot of seasoned pizza sauce. So I only have a couple jars of those. Then we have whole kernel corn. Over here I have grape juice, more applesauce. And then over here I have a variety of beans that I didn't can yet. These are just black beans. These are more of those cowpeas that I talked about before. I can these in the soup. I'll probably be saving these for seed. And then some kidney beans that I'm gonna save for seed. Back there I have some herbs that are dried. Down here, this is, I didn't label this, but these are grape fruit leathers. The kids really love these. I just dehydrate them. And over here, these are preserved lemons. These are still kind of fermenting and being preserved, so that's why they're not in the fridge yet. In the back there, I have some peppers. This is dried basil, and oh, there's more beans back there. And then over here, these are my dried peppers. I just cut them into slices and I dry them like that because they rehydrate a lot easier that way. I also have some sliced dried tomatoes back there. And over here we have more sliced dried tomatoes. And then I have some tomatoes that I just can whole. These are all canned whole. And then these ones down here, these are all diced, so they're really easy to add to like soup or chili. Okay. Down here, these are all dried apple slices. I like to do these half-gallon jars because they fit more, and I can fit about 10 apples in a jar. These are the green type, and you have to grow a certain type of pumpkin called a naked seeded pumpkin to get these green ones without the hull. So I have several of these in jars. And then lemon balm. Back here I have some, those are dried blueberries. I have more herbs and things back there. This one's peppermint. And I have some dried squash. These are dried green peppers. And then it looks like I have more dried squash back there. This is just all the varieties of dried foods. These are dried leeks. I've actually had these for more than a year and they're still good, which is another benefit of dried food, is they keep for a really long time. And I actually, for these, I don't even have an oxygen absorber in there, which takes out the oxygen. If I'm storing for less than a year, I just put the lid on and they usually last. But if you're storing for longer than that, an oxygen absorber will help it to last longer. So these are whole peppers. And then I have lemon balm back here. Looks like more leeks. And that's about it for the dried foods. All right, so we're right at the end here. This box is just filled with more butternut squash. I have a lot of that. I think I had over 150 pounds this year. And then the sweet potatoes, as I mentioned before. I have a couple more little squash. These are called honey nut. I think they were supposed to get a little bit bigger, but that's just the way they turn out. And then I have more pumpkins. And then I just keep some extra jars here. Several years ago, I had a lot of health problems and I got medical help, but that help didn't actually help me get better. So I turned to my food as a source of healing, and over the course of a year, I was able to slowly get better.
Inflammation is our immune system's defense mechanism. It helps protect us against disease and infection, injury, and even stress. And in the short term, it's actually a good thing, but we don't want inflammation sticking around in the long term because it can lead to chronic pain and even disease within itself. And so that's what I wanted to chat about today, how we can avoid or reduce unnecessary inflammation by eating certain foods that have anti-inflammatory effects. Now, some of you might already know this, but before starting this channel, I actually worked in the field of nutrition as a dietitian, and I learned a lot about the power of foods in fighting inflammation, and I wanted to dive into what those foods are today. And you're gonna see loads of recipes featured kind of throughout the video, so keep your eye out for this recipe alert sign, which essentially just means that recipe link for you is in the description box below. Now let's dive in. So this is super cool. Plants have developed their own defense mechanism to help them fight off certain bacteria, fungi, insects, and even viral infections. And part of their immune system are these compounds that are called phytochemicals that are also known as phytonutrients. And what happens is that when we consume plant foods, we essentially just absorb these phytonutrients. And research has shown that these compounds help to even protect us from chronic diseases. They help to reduce inflammation and are potent in helping to protect us from cancer and heart disease. And so fruits and vegetables are very rich in these phytonutrients, and to make sure that we get a good mix of these nutrients into our system, we want to try to aim to eat a variety of different colors. And so diversity is at least as important as quantity. So let's explore each of these colors and the benefits that they can provide. Let's start with red colored foods like tomatoes and red bell peppers and watermelon. They're rich in lycopene, and this is a potent antioxidant that helps to reduce damage that are done by harmful molecules that are known as free radicals. Lycopene is also thought to protect against prostate cancer as well as heart and lung disease. One quick note about fruits and veggies whose flesh is white or pale colored on the inside, like this here apple or eggplants, for example. Most of the color is in the skin, and that's also where you're going to find most of the phytonutrients. So if you want to reap the maximum benefit from these kinds of fruits and vegetables, try to enjoy it with the skin whenever you can. Then there's orange and yellow foods like carrots and sweet potatoes and squash, and these provide carotenoids, and these help to promote communication between our cells. They may also help to prevent heart disease, and you might have heard about carotenoids also helping out with our eyesight. It might come as no surprise that green foods are very nourishing, especially leafy greens like kale and spinach and even broccoli. These are rich in flavonols, which help to reduce the risk of vascular disease, and they just generally help to reduce the effects of inflammation all around. And then there's blue and purple colored foods like blueberries and blackberries, but also purple cabbage and grapes and plums. And these are rich in the powerful compounds called anthocyanins, which are believed to delay cellular aging, and they also block the formation of clots in our blood, which can help to keep our hearts healthy. And this is just the tip
tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds, thousands of compounds that are in these fruits and veggies that we haven't explored because we wouldn't have the time to, but they all help in their own unique way to help fight inflammation and other various diseases. So it really helps to get a variety whenever we can. These next ingredients aren't particularly colorful per se, but they do have very strong anti-inflammatory kind of properties. And these are the basis of a lot of our meals, and these are garlic, onion, and ginger. So let's start first with garlic. These contain organosulfur compounds, and then onions contain compounds called quercetin. And both of these phytonutrients have anti-inflammatory benefits, but they also have been shown to prevent cancer and microbial and viral infections. Then there's ginger, and these contain the phytochemical called gingerols, and this helps to reduce inflammation and helps to prevent the progression of various chronic diseases. Oxidation is a very necessary and normal chemical reaction that happens in our bodies, but sometimes an imbalance can occur in this reaction, which can lead to something called oxidative stress. Now, oxidative stress can cause inflammation, but it can also damage our cells, proteins, DNA. It can even cause premature aging and even certain kinds of diseases. Now, luckily, there are certain compounds called antioxidants that help to restore the balance. And antioxidants are really rich in the fruits and vegetables that we just talked about, but also in spices. Spices and dried herbs offer the most antioxidant punch by weight than almost anything else. And this is especially true for oregano, rosemary, and thyme. And these are ingredients that we've combined together in our homemade Italian seasoning mix. You can make this mix just once and then keep it in your pantry, and then you're gonna have it at the ready to just scoop up into your favorite pastas or pizza sauces to add a whole bunch of antioxidants all at once. It's just so simple. And then there's also turmeric powder. This is another antioxidant powerhouse because it's really rich in a phytonutrient that's called curcumin. Now, unfortunately, curcumin isn't very readily absorbed into our bodies unless it's combined with black pepper, which can help to increase its absorption by 2,000%. So that's why you can often see that when we're making curries, we usually combine our turmeric with black pepper, but you'll also see that whenever we're making delicious drinks, like our golden milk recipe. Or you could batch make our golden latte drink mix. I feel like it's just such a lovely way to wind down in the evening. Scooping up a little bit of this powder, combining it with your favorite warm plant-based milk, it's just so delicious and nourishing. Now let's talk about beans for a second. They contain a very powerful phytonutrient that we've already discussed, if you remember, called anthocyanins. We saw that in the blueberries, blackberries, and purple cabbages. Those have like a blue-purple color, right? And so do certain beans, like red beans, black beans, pinto beans. These are especially really high in these anthocyanins. And beans are also very high in their fiber content, which has been shown to reduce insulin sensitivity and also to reduce inflammation. And then there's soybeans, and these are something that you see us enjoy a lot in the form of edamame beans, tempeh, or tofu, and they're rich in the phytonutrient that's called isoflavones. You might also sometimes hear about soy being controversial because it contains phytoestrogens. And we do have a whole article on soy in case you're interested and want to learn more. I'll link it for you below. But in short, the results of these studies on phytoestrogens have been conflicting in the past, but more recent studies conclude that soy is not only safe for consumption, but that it's also very protective against different kinds of cancers, and it's generally recommended because it's a very great protein source. And that's another way that we can actually help to reduce inflammation is by consuming more plant-based proteins over animal proteins. Certain animal proteins like red meat and dairy have been linked with increased inflammation, whereas plant proteins have been linked with decreasing inflammation. I've always been so fascinated with gut health, and our guts are these intricate ecosystems that trillions of microorganisms call home. And some of these microorganisms promote inflammation, whereas others are thought to reduce it. And fiber is one source that can fuel the growth of the beneficial gut microorganisms that help to support our overall optimal health. Now, some sources of fiber include the fruits and vegetables and beans that we've discussed, but also it's very rich in whole grains. Whole grains are incredibly nourishing and filling, so you can aim to add them whenever and wherever you can. It's delicious to enjoy with meals, of course, but you could also have something like oats together with breakfast, or you could add it into energy bars, or even just add grains to salads. And also, I don't know if you knew this, but popcorn is a whole grain in and of itself, so feel free to pop some popcorn to enjoy as a snack. We're gonna end strong here with omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats fulfill so many different functions in the body, and they're the starting point for the creation of certain hormones that help to fight inflammation. Omega-3 fats are essential, which means our bodies can't make it on its own, which means that we have to consume them directly from food. And plant-based sources of omega-3 fats are ground flax seeds, ground chia seeds, hemp seeds, and walnuts. And in case you're interested, we have an awesome recipe for a super seed mix where you essentially just take all of these omega-rich ingredients, you mix them together in a jar, and then it's super easy to have it on hand. You can sprinkle it on onto salads or smoothie bowls, or onto yogurts, which is what I like to do, or onto oatmeals to get an extra boost of energy and omega every day. Plus, you can consider an omega supplement from algae, which, fun fact, algae is where fish get their omega from. So you could just bypass eating the fish and get it straight from the source. And as usual, we do have a whole article about omega-3 fats, so if you want to delve deeper, the link is in the description box. What I usually like to do, and this is really one of my philosophies, is to focus more on the foods that we can be enjoying more of and let those foods naturally displace the foods that we maybe ought to be eating a little bit less of. So for example, to get the optimal benefit of the omega-3 fats that we've just talked about from foods, we actually need to limit the omega-6 fats that we get from foods. And there's a few other examples of foods that actually cause inflammation, but instead of delving into those in this video, what we've done is we've created a whole new, brand new inflammation article, and I'm gonna link that for you in the description box below in case you'd like to delve deeper. But if I was to summarize, essentially all we want to do is to try to eat a rainbow of colorful fruits and vegetables. Whatever is available to you is great. We want to cover our basis with enjoying onion, garlic, and ginger in meals. We can also spice up our meals or even potentially our drinks to make them more flavorful and nourishing. And then we can fill ourselves up with beans, we can fuel up on fiber, and we can try to get in some omega-3 rich foods as well. And that's pretty much anti-inflammatory foods in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed and that you learned something new. If you did, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. It means a lot when you do. And that's it for today. Pickle Flames signing off. We'll see you in the next video.
Hey you guys, it's Christina. People have been asking me to share my story on how my eyes changed color when I went fully raw. Before I went raw, many years ago, when I was hyperglycemic, I used to have eyes that were a very dark, cafe brown color. And here I sit 8 years later, my eyes are almost a completely different color. They've actually changed to a hazel color with almost a honey lining around my iris, and they're actually starting to turn blue. I know this sounds very weird to many people, but it sparked my curiosity when I went raw, to know that my eyes were changing color. Why would this be? So I actually went to an iridologist so that she could perhaps tell me what was going on, not just in my eyes, but also within my body. What I ended up learning was this, is that our eyes, the color of our eyes, you can actually not only see your soul through your eyes, but the clearness and the clarity in your eyes actually reflects how clean your body is on the inside. This is very interesting because when you think about all of the toxins that are in your body or all the things that you're consuming daily, you can actually see it. You can see it in your body through your eyes. I grew up eating a very, very, very poor Latin American and Lebanese diet, and I ate a lot of fat. I was very constipated my whole life, and going to the restroom 1 time a week was normal. I know that sounds very gross for me to have to talk about that here, but it has a lot to do with why my eyes change color. The iridologist explained to me that our colons are literally 31.5 feet long, and health begins in the colon. When we have very clogged colons, when we have a lot of toxicity in our body, when we are constipated, when things are not moving through our system, we become stuffed up, so to say, right? Toxins build up in the colon. If we're not eliminating, then we see literally all of that toxicity, all of that gunk through our eyes. When I began eating raw, I started going to the restroom more because naturally eating more fibers, all of that gets flushed out through your system. So the longer that I was raw, the more that I noticed that my eyes went from a dark brown color to a light brown color and eventually started turning hazel. And then eventually after they've turned hazel, the only thing that has been left nearly brown is the honey around my iris. And if you look closely at my eyes, they've turned somewhat speckly. And you can see almost every different facet or color in my eye, especially when I'm sitting in the sunshine. What I find very cool about this is that I did not know that there are actually parts in your eye that are directly proportional to different parts of your body or that are linked to your colon. And the cleaner you become, the cleaner your eyes become. So people ask me all the time how my eyes change color, and the answer is simple. I ate fully raw and I allowed my body to cleanse itself naturally. All of the toxins were flushed out through all of the fiber in the foods and all of the colors in the food.
One quick note about fruits and veggies whose flesh is white or pale colored on the inside, like this here apple or eggplants, for example. Most of the color is in the skin, and that's also where you're gonna find most of the phytonutrients. So if you wanna reap the maximum benefit from these kinds of fruits and vegetables, try to enjoy it with the skin whenever you can. Then there's orange and yellow foods like carrots and sweet potatoes and squash, and these provide carotenoids, and these help to promote communication between our cells. They may also help to prevent heart disease, and you might have heard about carotenoids also helping out with our eyesight.
I've been a raw vegan for 16 years now. 16 years, you've heard that correctly. And I reversed my type 2 diabetes by changing what I eat. Now that gives a whole different meaning to the phrase food is medicine. It was changing what was on my plate that changed the outcome of my health. Changing what was on my plate and what I put into my body changed my life. It gave me my health back. It gave me health freedom.
So this is super cool. Plants have developed their own defense mechanism to help them fight off certain bacteria, fungi, insects, and even viral infections. And part of their immune system are these compounds that are called phytochemicals that are also known as phytonutrients. And what happens is that when we consume plant foods, we essentially just absorb these phytonutrients. And research has shown that these compounds help to even protect us from chronic diseases. They help to reduce inflammation and are potent in helping to protect us from cancer and heart disease.
Fir, birch, and cedar seedlings in a trio. She labeled the paper birch with the radioactive isotope carbon-14 and labeled the Douglas fir with the stable isotope carbon-13. That way she could tell not only if carbon was moving from birch to fir, but could tell if it was moving from fir to birch. The cedar plants acted as a control. Cedar can't form mycorrhizal networks with the fir or birch for the simple reason that it forms arbuscular mycorrhiza, not ectomycorrhiza like the other two. If cedar roots acquire any of the labeled sugars created by fir or birch, it would mean that they had leaked through the soil, not through the fungal network. She then covered the fir with a shade tent, reducing the amount they were able to photosynthesize. If the two trees were linked in a mycorrhizal network, cooperating with one another, then the surplus of photosynthetic sugars from the birch should flow into the roots of the fir. And what she found was that the birch and fir trees indeed share resources. In fact, the more shade the fir was covered by, the more carbon-14 it received from the birch, and the cedar did not receive either of the isotopes. Further experiments showed that these two species are also able to share nitrogen, and share resources in both directions depending on the season and conditions. The two species exist in an alternate feedback system, helping each other when the other needs it, allowing them both to remain healthy. But it's not only a matter of sharing resources. Other experiments have looked at the chemicals trees produce to signal that they're being damaged by voracious insects, pathogens, or human activity. One experiment looked at tomato plants, all linked up through an arbuscular mycorrhizal network. When the researchers infested some of the plants with leaf-chewing caterpillars, healthy neighbors had activated 4 defense-related genes within 6 hours. In other words, they knew trouble was coming and they were preparing for it. As it turns out, this preparation helped them. The plants that had time to produce defensive enzymes against the pest fared better, and the caterpillars munching on those second plants didn't grow as large. And there's also evidence that trees of the same species have some form of kin recognition through their fungal networks. They can identify which trees are most closely related to them and direct more resources towards those trees. These experiments show us that trees aren't solitary individuals, but live in a cooperative harmony with one another.
That's why when a client tells me they want a citrus tree, I tell them, get it from Home Depot, get it from Lowe's. A, it has a warranty. B, we plant it in the understory. We put it underneath the oak trees if they have one on their property, and we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a mycorrhizal relationship between the citrus and the oak. Something having to do with that understory, these trees seem to be much less affected. Would you look at that? There's, 150, 200, 300, 400, 500 fruits, just here in this little range of tree going all the way up in here. And it's probably a couple of trees But I think what excites me the most about this, guys, first of all, it's citrus. Very hard to grow here in Florida. Second of all, nobody's watering these. Nobody's fertilizing these. Nobody's maintaining these. These trees are thriving on neglect, fruiting like no other, and it's citrus, well, which is pretty unheard of here in Florida if anybody knows about our greening problem we have.
During the growing season, our meals are usually really simple because we're already so busy in the garden and we're also doing a lot of preserving. So it takes up a lot of time. So I try and cook as minimally as possible. So in general, I try and cook one big dinner and have the leftovers for lunch. But on days when we don't have leftovers, I will often make a salad instead. So that's what I'm showing you here. During the spring and summer and fall, we have so many vegetables available to us that our meat consumption is generally really low. So our salad is just going to be vegetables and then a herb vinaigrette dressing. And because I'm not cooking meat with this, it also really simplifies it and really takes the time down to basically just preparing the vegetables and then the dressing. I'm making some dressing and I needed some herbs to go in it. I'm just gonna grab some dill. I forgot to grab it this morning. But it looks like it's not gonna rain today, which is nice. When I use garlic for a recipe, I often toast it first because it's so spicy, and especially in a recipe that's raw like this vinaigrette. So I am toasting the garlic and then I add the dill and then the white wine vinegar. And after the garlic's all toasted, you just peel the skins off and then add some salt. And this is some homemade mayo. And then finally I add some honey. And then I blend that up. And after that's all blended really well, that's when I add in the oil and I add it slowly. And that's it. It's really easy and simple and it tastes so much better than anything you would find at the store. Super flavorful with the dill. The only other side that I am adding to the salad for lunch is some of my sourdough English muffins that I made for breakfast, and then I'm adding some canned peach butter that I made last year.
All the things we've had so far from the garden have been so good.
Oh yeah.
Like this pesto, amazing.
What's in the pesto? Garlic?
Mm-hmm. Garlic from the garden.
From the garden. Basil from the garden.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Almonds.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. It's thicker than most pesto that you buy at like the store.
Yeah.
And it's really better, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go to the garden and pick all the vegetables that we need for today and the strawberries. Usually I kind of pick as I go along during the day, but today I'm doing it all at once because we're supposed to get some rain later today. Then on the English muffin, I am topping that with garlic scape pesto. I have a lot of garlic scapes this spring, and so I made them into pesto. And then I also have some fermented red pepper salsa. How is it, Dax?
Good.
Delicious? So good. When I made this video, I already had the garlic scape pesto made, so I went back on a different day and I made another batch so I could show you guys. This is a very simple recipe. It's just the garlic scapes chopped up, and then you add walnuts, and I toasted them in my skillet, and I added some salt and a little bit of lemon juice, and then finally I'm adding some oil here to the mix. And then you just put it in a jar, and that's it. You can also add cheese if you eat cheese. I'm not eating dairy right now, so I didn't add cheese to this.
Came into the garden to just check on some things. I found the most amazing thing. I'm gonna grab it this morning, but I just like couldn't even believe what I was seeing. So, this is insane. Look how giant this zucchini is. I just like, can't even believe how big this is. I'm gonna make probably a soup with this or something because this is huge. And there's even more growing. I can't even believe this. It is just so cool to watch things grow. It's always scary to just like put seeds in the ground because you never know what's gonna happen, but this, amazing.
Most nights we usually will either skip dessert, or for dessert we have fresh fruit from the garden, but tonight I wanted to try something different and use our strawberries and rhubarb to make a strawberry rhubarb crisp. So this one is actually not my recipe. It is one that I just found online and I thought looked good, so I thought I would try it out. I decided to use my Marquette Castings Dutch oven for this one. Crisps are always really good in a Dutch oven. Also, it was really easy to clean up and cooks really well.
I've tasted some bites of these, and oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever.
Strawberry seeds are located on the skin of the fruit. You can harvest them in order to plant your own strawberries. Peel the strawberry skin with a sharp knife. Don't cut too deeply into the fruit. Be very careful not to harm yourself. Lay these strips seeds up on a piece of clean tissue paper. Put them in full sun for 2 to 3 days to dry out. After 3 days, skins are completely dry, and at this stage we can easily extract seeds from them. Gently rub the seeds off with your fingers. As you run your finger over the skin, the seeds will come loose. Now sprinkle the strawberry seeds over the soil surface. Cover the pot with a plastic wrap. Wrap will keep the moisture intact and will help the seeds to remain moist until they germinate. Keep the pot in full sun. Strawberry seed germination can take as little as 12 days or as many as 30 to 35 days, so be patient with them. Remove the plastic wrap once the seeds starts to germinate. Fruit is typically ready for harvesting 3 to 4 weeks after flowering. As soon as strawberries turn red, you can harvest them. Just cut by the stem, do not pull the fruit or you could damage the plant. Harvest strawberries as soon they turn red and ripe. Strawberries that sit on top of the soil too long will rot.
So I have to ask you, Chandran, because all my begonias are in pots, I'm wondering, what is your potting mix here for this begonia? Because they look so happy.
Irene, many people ask me about this, Why the plant is look healthy and what is the potting mix? I'll be honest to you today, no potting mix. I just planted in the ground with the soil.
In the soil?
In the soil or whatever soil it is, Well, maybe I put some sand a little bit to help for porosity. If you let them free, the root will find the nutrition. Every soil they have a nutrition, but we cannot see, right? So they will try to find it because they're free. They can go anywhere they want it. That is what I want. I want my place to be wild, just real wild.
People sell like specialty. Okay, this is the potting mix for aroid, this one for begonia, this one for calathea.
Well, I don't blame people selling potting mix because pot is such a small place for plants to grow. Okay. So it needs a lot of nutrition in such a small place. But look at my garden. This is more than a quarter acre or 1,000 square meters. So the root is just going everywhere and then climbing to the rock. I never fertilize the rock. Falling leaf is nutrition, like in the jungle, like in the forest, right? The decomposing leaf is a nutrition for plants. Look at here. There's a leaf there. I just leave it there. I never take it out. The one that I take it out only on the pathway. Yes, I take out to make it a little bit clean. But for me, leaf is not garbage. Leaf is a nutrition for me. So I just leave it there.
Because I was reading this book, it's like a natural organic farming by Jadam. It's a Korean farming method. The guy was writing about the leaf itself. It contains all the nutrients that the plant needs. And so the best fertilizer for the plant is actually its own leaves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one day they are decaying and becoming a compost. So that is in the forest, in the nature. So I ask you, who fertilized the forest? Who fertilized it? Anybody fertilize the forest like, oh, I want to make the trees go taller, the leaf go bigger. No, nobody do it. They regulate themselves. We don't need to intervene anything. Look at our gardens, no fertilizer. You can see. They're happy. They look happy.
Another tomato forest. This was actually the only intentional tomato area of the entire garden because the other ones grew on their own. Tomatoes tend to do that. If, a squirrel or something takes a tomato and they eat it here or there, they leave the seeds. Tomatoes will just what they call volunteer. So I have a lot of tomato volunteers around here, but this one was planted here. And I've got, look at these. These are my prize heirlooms. Gorgeous, huh? There we go. I'm gonna wrap that back up. This one needs to be eaten. I think I'm gonna take it. Boom. This is gonna make a really amazing BLT.
So I harvested some garlic scapes and I also harvested some new potatoes. These are volunteer plants from last year.
If you do nothing to a piece of land in temperate climates,
it will become a forest. The forces of nature are actively moving the land towards a balanced, sustainable, and resilient ecosystem. This is called succession. In southwest England, an unusual forest is growing. Nut trees, fruit trees, shrubs, and perennial vegetables are planted in a way that mimics a natural woodland. This forest garden is the life's work of Martin Crawford, an unconventional gardener who grows 500 edible plants with just a few hours of maintenance per month.
After the grasses are set back, we come in with bulldozers with ripping shanks on the back to decompact the site.
So as the bulldozer drives the lawn, it's ripping up the land, it's pulling up boulders.
After we decompact the land, we see the benefits right away. Native forest adjacent to these mine lands who begin seeding into the site. Wildlife start spreading seeds. We see wildflowers blooming. Water and nutrients are able to infiltrate the soil so that the trees have a greater chance of survival.
None of this was planted. This planted itself with seeds that washed in. They're all self-planted trees. They're all volunteers. This could have been planted to productive species. This was just a landscape rehabilitation project, soil erosion control project. Good intention. Well intended, but it could have been taken so much further and could still be taken further. We can all do this. This could be planted to fruit trees. This could be planted to citrus, figs, pomegranate, guava, a whole mixture of trees, possibly even date palms. This could be a complete dryland desert oasis inside a swale and still has the opportunity to be that. But we can all do this, from the drylands to the tropics, from here in the drylands to the temperate and the cold climates. These systems have a great advantage over irrigated agriculture because they're self-irrigated, and as you can see, even if you don't plant them, they're self-replicated. The soil fertility is still here and it's still increasing. It's higher quality soil here, it's better structured soil here than anywhere else around us. This is one of the smaller swales in a sequence of swales that were installed. They're not in any specific position and they could have been enormously longer. They're quite short, yet they've still had this incredible effect. Desert swales are large, they're quite large as swales go in profile, but they could have been enormously longer. I know that we can install systems that will do this and better for just as long and longer and give us production with very minimal energy input, and we should be doing it.
So last spring, I foraged for some wild stinging nettle. This year, I found a big patch of nettles near a little stream and harvested as much as I possibly could. The lighter colored, newer leaves are less bitter and have a really nice flavor. It's one of the most unique flavors. I would describe it to taste similar to spinach, but also reminiscent of cucumber. Using gloves, I removed all the leaves from the stems. I don't like to eat the stems because they are very fibrous. I then blanched the leaves in boiling water for about a minute. This removes the stinging part of the plant, and after blanching them, they are safe to consume. You can actually eat them raw. I've done it before. You just kind of have to fold up the leaf so the stinging part doesn't touch your mouth. Tonight, I made pesto with the nettle, and I was honestly so blown away by how good it was. I've made nettle pesto before, but I kind of forgot how amazing it tastes. My family all agreed it tasted even better than basil pesto, and on top of that, the nettles were free. Also, wild foraged plants have been proven to have more nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants than what you can get from the grocery store. A lot of people don't know this, but nettle contains many healing properties as well. I think wild plants probably are the healthiest foods that we can eat because you're picking them fresh and eating them that day, as well as them being naturally organic.
Nettle is really rich in antioxidants. It also contains compounds that are known to have anti-inflammatory properties. This spring, I'm gonna try to pick a bunch and then dry the leaves to make nettle tea all year round.
I am just using a recipe I found online. I heavily adopt my cornbread recipes though because I have some different dietary needs, and I'm also not a huge fan of white flour, so I usually try and mix in some wheat into it or some pastry flour. Usually I use coconut milk for this recipe. I took out the coconut milk and I decided against it this time because it does leave like a strong coconut flavor just throughout the whole cornbread. So instead I'm using some of our leftover oats from breakfast, and I'm gonna make an oat milk to use in place of that. Starting by doing like a cup of oats to 4 cups of water. That's usually what I do for my almond milk. Try not to spill any of it. 1/8 teaspoon of sea salt in there. And then I'm gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of some of our vanilla extract. I'm gonna do just a touch of maple syrup, probably a tablespoon worth. I'm using it as a substitute for buttermilk. I'm gonna do the same amount of buttermilk that the recipe calls for and add in a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice is what I add to kind of give it a little bit more of an acid, the way that buttermilk is an acid. I had to go outside yet again, and luckily I don't have to drive anywhere to get ingredients. That's right outside my door. So I harvested some garlic scapes, and I also harvested some new potatoes. These are volunteer plants from last year.
How is it?
It's really good.
I'm gonna add in my onions and I'm gonna add in my freeze-dried vegetables. The onions and peppers are all finished. They're delicious just as they are. broccoli is pretty much done, so no need to harvest any of that. Thinking what else. We have some winter choy in here. I think that'll last in the ground. So we're just gonna get to work and get started on that and bring it all in. I'm going to pick some carrots and spinach for some of the meals that we're making today. The carrots, Cam picked a whole bunch after that big freeze. They were in really good shape still. It looks like they're pretty much gone. I'm hoping I can find a couple in here because I need some for dinner today. And then the spinach in the tunnel, it is in good shape, so we'll just go ahead and pick some of that.
They said no going to Walmart.
What do you think about the pretzels?
Really, really,
Best
really,
thing I've ever
really,
tasted.
Really good.
I absolutely love growing food, and the result of that is I need to find ways to cook all of this food that I love to grow. And so that's something that's really important to me, is growing, cooking, and eating food in its season. That's how I came up with the seasonal homestead, because that's something I strive to do and I feel really strongly about. Because the foods that we have available in season and preserved are always changing, I cook differently based on what time of year it is. So I'm going to give you a look into some of the meals that I am making in winter from our homestead garden and pantry.
And then I'm taking some of my fermented jalapenos and I'm going to chop those up really fine. The jalapenos that we fermented this summer are absolutely delicious. They are still super crispy, which you just don't get with canning, and they are so good in this recipe. I pre-soaked some white beans and I am cooking them in our pressure cooker. I'm walking out to the garden to grab some cilantro. It's gonna be really interesting because the cilantro, last I checked, it was pretty frozen. Had a lot of brown stuff on the top, but underneath there was a little bit of green. So I'm gonna see if I can get enough for dinner. So I'm heading back inside. Actually, whoa, don't want to lose any. Stuff's precious. I got a decent harvest. So, all things considered. Oh gosh. After I brought the cilantro in, I got it all chopped up and ready. This cilantro actually goes in at the very end. And when we have these things in season, we're gonna make sure we make it a lot because my kids declared it was delicious.
It's good. It's actually everything but usually in the ferment. It's kind of normal.
just gonna go ahead and get started on dinner today, and I am making a stuffed butternut squash. I'm grabbing some butternut squash from our pantry. These are just stored at room temperature. It has been maybe 7 months since I picked them, and they're still in perfect condition.
What?
For dinner.
We still have
butternut squash?
Squash?
Yeah. Last a long time.
We had squash like last year.
Went outside and I am picking what is left of my kale here. You can see it's kind of at the very end of its life because it's cold now, and so things grow really slow. But I was able to gather enough kale for this recipe. By the time I got back inside, the oven was all preheated, so I put my squash in to cook for 1 hour. So I'm sharing my secret ingredient for this recipe, and it's not gonna be a secret anymore, but this is apple butter, and I just put a couple tablespoons into the mix. So I really like foods that are like sweet and savory at the same time. So if you're not a sweet fan, you may not like this so much, but I love it. I think it's so good. So it's gonna go in. One of my kids chopping kale for dinner. We just make it bite size or a little bit smaller. At that point, the squash was finished, so I took it out of the oven. I usually let it cool a couple minutes. And then once you flip over all of the squash, you want to take a spoon and take some of the squash out so that it forms like a little boat that you can put your filling in. I just leave like a 1/2 inch of squash all the way around the edges just to be sure. And finally, I'm adding the kale in. I always add this in last because I like mine a little less cooked. So that finishes off the filling, and after that, you take the filling and put it into each of the squash. I fill them very generously, and sometimes I still have a little left over. I just eat it with the squash that I took out when I made the boats. And after you fill them up, they are ready to go in the oven.
How is it, Noelle?
Good.
You love it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at this. Look at this. No lack of food. And not just regular food. We're talking about free food. Like, nobody eats this stuff. The animals eat it, obviously. Most of it probably rots away. And that's probably how we keep getting more trees. More seedlings keep popping up. But I don't know about you guys. Have you ever seen one this loaded?